Who would have thought this could have been so hard? Well, this is take 2, and who would have thought? So yesterday I filmed, I thought, well, I'll be smart. I'll turn the cameras off when I'm melting my metal, and then turn them back on. Well, of course, when I turned it back on, I couldn't get them all to sync up, and they ended up all just taking a couple of still frames and not taking any video, and it's so much easier just to pour metal. Anyway, I'm going to give you an update on my sand, and for those of you that don't know, that don't follow the channel, I started off I used Petrobond when I first started, and I used that for a long, long time. And now I have switched over to using green sand, and I couldn't be happier. I'll tell you right now, I could not be happier. Even with some of the stuff you're about to see here, I could not be happier. So what I did is I bought playground sand, this kind of stuff right here, that you can buy at any, basically, hardware store. And it's fairly fine. It's just not real coarse stuff. I mean, not by, I don't know, it doesn't feel like real, like beach sand, California beach sand where it's real coarse. That's what I grew up with, and that's what I kind of know. And I thought it would be fine. And I started off by sort of sifting it using this guy. And it, I got the big rocks and things like that out of there. I thought, oh, it'll be fine. Well, that was quiet. That's not what I want. This is what I want. That was fine, except that it was still way, way too coarse. And I'm going to show you these in detail in just a minute. But this was the first time I cast. It was too wet. Second time I cast, it was a little drier, but it's still, the surface is horrible. Then I went and got this sieve here, which is finer. So this one is probably, stay put. I'm looking at those openings, and I'm thinking they're about 1.5 millimeters to maybe 2, almost, we'll be generous, 1.5 millimeters. I won't go as far as 2 millimeters. Pretty wide opening. This is about half of that. So this is about 3/4 of a millimeter probably. And I sifted all of my sand through this guy right here. Poured, it was just, gosh, I'll tell you what, this is a lot of work to do this. Well, I did that, and I got down to number 3, which is this guy right here. Big improvement, but still not super. So then I went online, and I bought this guy. This is a 50 mesh screen. I bought it from an outfit in China, and I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited. It was like a 5-week delivery cycle to get this thing. And I was hoping to get it before Christmas because I did a lot of castings, and I would have been nice to have better sand, but I didn't. So I got this like 2 days before Christmas, I think the 23rd. But it is much, much finer. I think the resolution on these holes is somewhere around 0.35 millimeter. Somewhere in that vicinity. I don't know. But I resifted all of my sand. Now, when I did that, I ended up with probably about a 40% yield. So out of all the sand that I bought, 60% of it went outside in our horse arena. 40% of it stayed here in the garage with me. And it's a ton of work. This took forever to sift this stuff. But I'm going to tell you from what I did yesterday, from the video, for the footage you didn't see, this is far and away the best thing I've done. So let me take you, I've got a couple of stills that I took that are a little bit better resolution probably than this camera, and just tell you, again, the first one I did with the coarsest sand I had, and it was way too wet, way too wet. I mean, you would clump it and it would just stick to you. When I rammed the pattern up, when I pulled it apart, all the sand stuck together between the cope and the drag. It stuck to the pattern. It was just a mess. Way too wet. I dried it out, and I thought I was like, ooh, too dry. Well, I was probably still way too wet for this one. And the surface finish is better than that, strictly because it didn't stick like itself. But it's basically the same size sand, and it's not a terrific finish, especially when you consider all the pits and everything that are in it. But you know, it would. No, I'm not even saying it would pass. It's not a terrific finish. This is after I did that second sieve, number 3 here, and it got a lot better, but it's still not great. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff that you see showing up in here. Number 4 is the final one. This is the one I did with the 50 mesh screen, and there may be a 5th one in my future very soon. We'll see. And when that happens, I will definitely show you. I'll definitely tell you about it because it's going to be something you're going to want to know. And if you're here in the States, especially, if it works out, you're going to want to know this, and I'll give you all the information about it then. All right, so there we go. That's the what they turned out looking like. Let's go ahead and ram up another one and pour it anyway, because I want to show you. I want to show you what the sand looks like. All right. So let me get this stuff set up here. All right, number 1. Here is, let's put this where you can probably see it. This is my sand. Now, when before I'd run that 50 mesh sieve, when I would run my hands through this sand, it felt like sand. It felt it felt coarse, even though it didn't look coarse. And when it's dry, it feels really nice. But when it was wet, it really felt coarse. Now this is probably too wet. I'm feeling it now. It's kind of heavy. Normally, I would take this stuff and it would just sort of run through my fingers. We're gonna give this a try. I've never done it. I haven't done this new sand this wet, so we'll see. But it's the nice thing about it is, even though it's wet, it's not sticking to me, right? That's I know it's not too wet. So that's it. It clumps together incredibly nice, breaks nice and clean. So that's what my sand looks like now. My sand, if you're interested, is by weight about 90% sand, 60 or 10% bentonite powder. And I used cat litter for this, but again, there may be a new thing coming that you're going to want to know about. I used to use cat litter and mix it in with the sand and let it soak, and it came out really pretty nice. All right, so let's go ahead and get this guy. Let's go and get him rammed up. I hope I don't regret this. Normally, I leave the sprue in when I push this down to cut my basin, but I pulled the sprue and I'm not going to shove it back down in there again. Let's just hope it doesn't collapse anything. And turn it. Maybe if I turn it. And it's been a while since I've talked about the basin and the sprue and all that, and why not? Let's just talk about it again. So the pouring basin is about 30 millimeters, 3 centimeters, inch and a quarter, whatever you want to call it, deep. It's got straight sides. It's got a flat bottom. We are going to cut a ridge that runs from edge to edge, from the sprue to the edge of the sprue to the edge of the basin. There's basically a nice straight line between the two, and I'm cutting it. It's got kind of a bevel on this side. I'm going to go ahead and clean up the back side of it here in just a sec. But the top of this ridge that I'm cutting will be about 10 centimeter, a little less than a half an inch from the bottom of the basin. So a lot of metal above the top of the ridge. We want to do that just to make sure we keep the sprue nice and full. Let's clean it up a little bit here. And I'm feeling the need to talk about this as well. This brush. So I was given these brushes by Martin a while ago when I was using the oil sand, the oil-based Petrobond, and he was harping on me to be using these things to clean things up. Well, the reality is they don't work in the oil-based sand. At least they didn't work in mine, probably because I had too much oil or whatever. I'm not sure why, but they didn't clean. All it did was they just loaded up with sand, and it was no good. No good at all. So I really didn't use them all that often, just as they didn't work, but they work fabulously with green sand. They don't load up. They clean everything up nice and smooth. Good deal. Just one more reason for me to really like this green sand that I've got going here. So I'm going to shut up again, and we're going to get this thing opened up and ready to go. And one little piece with some breakout. All right, moment of truth. We'll do the easy one first. Oh, look at that. Nice and clean. Let's hope this one does the same thing. It's got a lot more surfaces to deal with here. Let me wrap it just to see. Nothing up my sleeve. I'll take it. I will take it. Now, last time I didn't do this. I'm going to go ahead and do it this time just because I don't think I needed the scratch vents, but I'm going to go ahead and put them in anyway. Just this sand's a little bit wetter than I did it last night. I don't know. The other thing I'm doing is I'm going with a lot lower air pressure than I've been running. because I've been blowing sand around. Couple edges blowing off there. We got to come up with a better way for this airline and these cameras. Maybe the airline's got to come up from the bottom. Something. This ain't working out though. All right. The last thing I didn't do last time. I didn't do this last time either, and I screwed up. There's a little bitty ridge of sand right here, and we're going to go ahead and knock it down. And try not to have any. Try not to have any loose sand entering the mold. Do the best we can do. All right, there's our mold. We're going to do this, close it. Little trowel close just to knock any other loose sand down if you had it. Alright, let's get the pouring going here. Hopefully my cameras are all still running. All right, well, I kind of starved that sprue just a little bit. I don't think it was catastrophic and that's one of the reasons you cut the basin as low as you do, because even if you start starving your pour, you still got a continuous stream of metal going down without air getting entrained. I'm hoping. We'll look at the top view and see if that's the case, but that's kind of that's the idea, right? You want to get a nice level of metal up that can be going over there and not sucking air down. Let's hope we got it. We're going to go ahead and open this thing up and see what we got. What do you think? Oh, man. I don't think it looks too bad. I don't know if it looks as good as this one. I think that's water. That's the only difference between these two guys is the amount of water in the sand. We'll get a comparison here in a minute. All right, well there they are. I like the first one I did. I like the one I did yesterday better as far as surface finish. I think two things were different. No talc, no parting compound on this guy, and the sand was wetter when I did this one. So I'm thinking that's the difference. But that said, let me take a close up of them both, and we'll talk about them. All right, here they are. The one I did just now. This is the one I did yesterday. Both of them look reasonably good. If I were going to make this into a plaque, I would be painting the back surface and sanding this off, and all of it would be really easy to sand. There's hardly anything there. Nice clean edges for the most part. A couple little flash lines, but nothing huge. Alrighty. Well, that is it. Yes, I am, as a matter of fact. Green sand is working really well. I'm happy with it, and it's just gonna get better every time I use it. It gets better. Every time I do a little bit finer sift or whatever, it gets better. I'm figuring the moisture out. That's the key. I think the moisture is key. That and the size of the sand, obviously. So I think I was too wet. I got to figure out a way to be a little more consistent and maybe just a little drier next time. So when we do when I do the however many days of plaques I'm going to do, we'll do them drier, and we'll see if we can't get them to come out real nice. So that's it. Get away from that Petrobond. Have a great day.